for Arfield. 1-0 Burnley. Scott Arfield. He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. It's Rory now. On the outside. He's
got it. Ashley Barnes with it. What a cross from Rory. And there was Ashley Barnes. And Burnley leading the derby.
It quickly finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper.
Burnley won it to the end. That is magnificent. They deserve that.
On it by Paul Teller. Off for a hat-trick.
He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day.
Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Top shot.
Oh, what a goal. Manuel Benson once more. That is top class.
Burnley have done it. Fantastic. The Clarets deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everyone and welcome along to the latest instalment of the Turfcast podcast. Full-time show with me, Joe Redmond, here on the Turfcast YouTube channel, the Turfcast Facebook, and you may now be watching us live on Instagram as well. We've decided to start streaming to a few more locations because StreamYard, which is the streaming service that I use now, does it in portrait mode. So you can do stuff on Instagram and YouTube other way as well. So we're doing that as well. So there's a few teething issues with the vertical stuff. We do apologise. It's the first time I've done it. Please let me know if you're watching on Instagram. I can see a few people joining and things like that. So let me know if you are watching on Instagram and let me know how it looks and how it sounds and everything like that. But anyway, enough of all the boring stuff. Let's get into the other boring stuff, which is, of course, that Burnley have lost again. That's 3 defeats in 3 now for the Clarets after losing to Arsenal and, of course, Chelsea yesterday. And sandwiched in between them two was quite a more damaging defeat, the defeat against West Ham. And I still stand by the fact, even though I got a bit of stick yesterday, that yesterday's sort of defeat does not define our season. But we're going to have to start picking up some wins from somewhere, because at the minute we're not picking up wins from anywhere over the last 3. But we'll get into it later on. We do have quite a few more winnable games coming up. Apologies. The comments are on your screen now. So if you are watching, get your comments coming in. We will put them on screen and we will read them out. It's not just me today. You might have been worried that I've been waffling on for a little bit, but it isn't just me. As always, I'm pleased to introduce Andrew. As I've said before, Andrew, no matter what, Andrew is here. I could do a stream from, I don't know, from Guantanamo Bay, and Andrew will be there. So Andrew, always appreciate the fact you're coming on. We have struggled recently for contributors to people come on. I've asked 5 people today. 6 people. I've had 4 no's, 1 no answer, and Andrew who always answers straight away. So Andrew, always appreciated. And every time I say this, I always get a few people that say, I'll help out. I think I will have to start sort of like messaging a few of you back. But if you are watching and you're wondering, like, maybe you want to get involved with stuff with Turfcast, then feel free. If you're watching on the normal YouTube or on Facebook and you see me fidgeting, it's because I'm trying to be in the middle for the Instagram, because we need to, it's hard work. I might not do this again. But anyway, Andrew, thank you for coming on, mate. How are you? You all right?
No worries, mate. Yeah, I'm good. Like I say, I've got no life, have I? So I'm always happy to be on here.
Me and you both, mate. Me and you both, quite clearly. I've sacrificed a lot for this channel, and I will continue to do so. So some people might say you have no life. I say you got your priorities straight. You got your priorities straight. But keep your comments coming in, everybody. It's good to see a lot of people, like I said, commenting on and things like that. Liam Beach is in the chat. He says, great first 30 minutes, but lacking any lethal output up top. Service was poor. Fleming doesn't work on his own. We were robbed of 2 pens, and we were poor in the end. Alan Howard says, evening, Clarets, evening, mate. And he says it again. Cheers. Alan says, weird how the YouTube names are coming up. Again, let me know how everything is, Alan. If it's looking a bit silly today. Like it's because I'm trying to do something a little bit different. Stowns24 says, my prediction for Wolves, Burnley and Leeds going down is bob on right now. It is, but the season doesn't end in August. I'm not going to be one of these fans that sits here and says, that's it, we're down. We're absolutely down, because we're not. Let's get it straight. We're not down yet. He goes on to say, who would have thought Lau Foster and Brozier isn't an offensive out? They're not even playing, so I don't know why they're getting stick off you, mate, but they're not even playing. If anything, I'd like to see more of one of them, if not both of them. Ashley does agree with him. He says, yeah, Wolves, Burnley, Leeds are going down. Jamie Brown said, evening, fellas, evening, mate, hope you're well. Stow's just arguing with himself in the comments. A lot of Lyle, Foster and Brozier defenders. I don't think anybody's ever defended Brozier. You're just arguing with yourself in the comments, mate. Let your criticism be as loud as you're just arguing. Feel free to carry on, mate. You're just wasting your own energy. Dominic H says, evening, Clarets, a true red. Massive win for you. You absolute bastard yesterday, mate. Great win for you boys at Liverpool. Fair play. The Sean Dyche is working his magic already. Glad to have the live stream back. International break is painful. I do apologise. I did think of doing one, but then I thought I could spend the Sunday with the missus and have a Sunday roast and do some nice things. So I decided to do that instead, if I'm being honest with you. Hello all, says Andrew. Good evening, says Cornwall Claret. Another black day. Yeah, not a great day yesterday for Burnley. I don't like this new YouTube layout. It's not as easy to see previous comments. I think, Dominic, what it is, you're watching on the landscape one. If you go onto YouTube, you can watch it properly on there as well if you do like the other one, or go over to Facebook as well if you want to watch it on there. But yeah, get your comments coming in. We'll read out the rest of them. I will get to Andrew next. Now, Andrew, your thoughts on the game, please, mate.
It's a strange one, because for the first 20-25 minutes, I thought we were much the better side. And I thought when we went in 1-0 down at half time, I didn't think it was right. I thought we were good value for going in at half time level, if not in front, because we had maybe not great chances, but we had some half chances. And I thought up until they scored, I thought we played really, really well. And as soon as they scored, it almost felt like we were trying to do damage limitation and keep the score down rather than going for it. Like, I was so surprised when I read the starting 11 was the fact that Laurent wasn't starting and we weren't playing 5 at the back. Like, it said to me that Parker's learned from the mistakes of the past games against Big Six teams and that he was actually going to go for it. And it looks like we were. And like I say, until they scored. And then after that, it felt like damage limitation. And I know we'll probably get onto them later on. Like, there were some controversial moments and stuff, but it wasn't the referees that killed us yesterday. It was ourselves. Like, Chelsea didn't really have to get out of second gear. They weren't brilliant themselves. And I know that we'll say games like this won't define our season. And we're going to say that every single time we play the big
one of the big boys, yeah.
Yeah, but it's 12 games out of 38 games now that we're going to say that. And we need to start picking up points. And it doesn't matter if it's against these Big Six teams or it's against the lower teams. Like, we're at the point now where we need the points. And I know you say we're not relegated and like teams aren't relegated by November. But
unless you're Wolves.
Unless you're Wolves. But it's starting to look a little bit more worrying. And like, we all know I'm the most optimistic one. And like, I will never say that.
The only one that predicted a positive result this weekend.
Exactly. But even I'm starting to look at it thinking we definitely need more in January. And we need to be more adventurous. Like I put in the group, I'd rather go and lose 3 or 4-0 going for it than lose 2-0 sitting back and defending it. And I feel like that's what we did in the end. We just lost by defending it, not going for it. I know we had chances, but they weren't good enough.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, actually. I think we were the better side for up until they scored, 30 minutes anyway. Chelsea was starting to turn the screw a little bit by the time they scored. You could kind of sense that the goal was coming. So up until that spell, I feel like we were the better side. And I did say on Twitter and things like that, we had chances, and a lot of people were turning around and saying, well, actually, no, we didn't. We only had the 2 shots on target. And when you bring in the stats, that is actually correct. We did only have the 2 shots on target. But my argument is with this is, right, you could sit, again, apologies if you're watching on the YouTube, on the new YouTube, on Instagram, that is awful. Next time I will do a screenshot of this so you can see it properly. I do apologise. In fact, I'll take that off because it's absolutely awful. Yeah, that's awful. Apologies for that. It's this widescreen. It makes the actual thing too wide. But we only had 2 shots on target, right? But how many times in that first half? The stats are, let's just have a look at this. I'll read them out to you then. So expected goals for Burnley is 0.44 to Chelsea's 1.71. 44% possession to their 56, which is probably to be expected. 8 shots to their 15. 2 shots on target to their 5. Just the 1 big chance to their 2. And I don't even feel like the 2 shots on target would have been our big chance. I might be wrong. I would suspect that Fleming chance might be the big chance. I'm not sure on that one. 1 corner kick in the entire game to their 9. So the stats don't make for great reading, which I'm more than happy to concede that. But what I will say is, quite a few times in that first half, especially, I felt like we got into good positions, and there were the chances. Like it didn't turn into a chance in the literal sense, but it was a chance. Loom got into a good position once and tried to cut inside and got tackled. So it didn't turn into a shot on target or even a shot, but it was a chance to. We had territory, we were up the pitch, but bad decision making and poor quality meant that it was snuffed out. Jadon Anthony, which we will talk about him individually a little bit, because I do feel like it's time we spoke more at length about Jadon, which, he's received a lot of criticism on Twitter, and we have defended him on this channel quite a lot due to his good start, but I feel like it is potentially time to talk about Jadon more. But again, him yesterday got into 2 very, very good positions, and I think once he took too long and fannied about and had his shot blocked, and one, it was just a tame effort, I think, at the goalkeeper. I can't remember. But the first one especially, he got into a very good position, cut inside rather than going on the outside, and then took too long, and then the goalkeeper the defender snuffed it out and blocked it. So I do feel like we did have a lot of chances. And Alan, I did see that, actually, to be fair, mate. I'll just quickly put that comment. Alan says, we are 20th on both attack and defence. Just sent you, I saw it early. It must have been you that tweeted it, or it might have been somebody else. I have seen that, and I was going to bring it in, but I stopped because while that stat is a great reading, it also doesn't bring into account that we played Arsenal, we played Chelsea, we played Man United away, we played City away, we played Arsenal, we played Liverpool. We're a newly promoted side who's played pretty much the entirety of the top 6, some of them away from home. So that's not going to make great reading. So I understand it's not great, but there's a caveat to that. And I feel like it's important context, if I'm honest. And then when you bring that in, it's not as bad as it probably is. But yeah, Andrew, I'm sort of like saying there, like, even though we didn't have a lot of shots on target, we did have a lot of chances to create stuff, but just through to the lack of quality, we didn't, did we?
No, yeah, I'd agree. Like you say, you've got the Anthony chances early on. I think Loom had a couple of chances where he got in the box and he doesn't want to take a shot with his right foot, so he hesitates, almost like Dwight McNeil-esque type thing, where he hesitates and only wants to use his left foot. Yeah. And by the time he wants to use it, one of their centre halves is back in the way to block it, and I think it's like he does get a shot off, but because it's their defender at the edge of the box, it won't go down as a shot. So, I do think we did create chances.
100%, and that's the thing that winds me up with a lot of our fan base and a lot of the, if you just look at the stats, that's not true because we only had 2 shots on target. And I'll be honest with you, I watched the Sky Sports highlights before this, because what I like to do, as you will see, because I have clips, screenshots like usual of the main talking points, is I like to watch the highlights and bring them in and talk about them. But what I didn't watch is the Burnley one, which the Sky Sports one didn't have any of our chances on, annoyingly. The first clip it showed was Chelsea's attack, which annoyed me. But this is what I mean about Burnley having chances. That is quite early on. It's Loom Tuna on the right-hand side. Bearing that doesn't even count as a shot because it cuts inside, the defender gets back, and then it's blocked. So it doesn't even count as a shot on target. It doesn't count as a big chance. I don't think it even counts as an actual shot. It just goes down as good defending. This is what I mean about how I feel like Burnley need a goal scorer or a striker, if you will, which I got a lot of stick by saying yesterday. That's not me criticising Fleming. It's just we need somebody that can put the ball in the back of the net is what I mean. Somebody with a little bit more nous. And again, I feel like if we had a striker here, he'd be making the run in the middle. If you look at that, I'm not even sure who that is in there in the middle. I think it's Jadon Anthony. We're just not making the runs. We're just not making the runs. And Tuna doesn't do very well there. It's just snuffed out. So sorry to butt in there, Andrew, but I felt like you were talking about that exact moment. And I felt like I needed to bring it in. But that's the point I was trying to make about was that yesterday on the 60-second review on Twitter and the full fan time reaction is we did have chances. They just didn't turn into shots and shots on target.
But you look at moments like that as well, and you go back to the West Ham game a couple of weeks ago, like their third goal, I think, was it Walker-Peters and was it Wilson, I think, were busting a gut to get on the end of the rebounds to try and get the goal. There, like you say, I don't know who it is in the middle, I think it's Anthony. He should be busting a gut to get in the middle to give Tuna.
That's what I mean. A proper striker would, and that's why I stand by the fact that we need a striker, in my opinion.
100%. And people will say, like, oh, the striker, like, we know the striker's not the only position that we need to strengthen. But in the summer, and, well, the last transfer window, every transfer window for about 3 years now, we've all said we need a striker. We need a proper striker. Exactly, yeah. Lee, that's absolutely bang on. Like, everyone does help out in defence, but we need someone up front who's going to bust a gut to try and score goals. And we know that our defence is going to, like, nearly do the job. Like, we didn't get battered yesterday. We lost 2-0.
Yeah.
We didn't lose 5-0 like we would have done in previous seasons, specifically under Company. But, like, we don't have an attacking player who would bust a gut to get there, and that's what we need. And again, I don't want to lose my head because we lost against Chelsea, but it just, for me, I'm at the point where these games against the big six teams, they're no longer just free hits like every single game.
Alan, everybody loves Troy Parrott now, don't they, after his heroics with Ireland? I think a lot of people are going to be after him. What I will say is I've had another text message about the new layout being weird. I would like to remind everybody, if you are on the vertical one, you can go ahead and go on the other one and watch it properly. So if you are on the vertical one, come off it if you don't like it. The vertical one's more for sort of like mobile devices, if you're out and about or whatever. If you want to watch it properly, make sure you watch it on the different one. I'm happy to say that we have been joined by somebody else who's just stopped doing very silly dances because he knows he's about to be brought in. I'm going to bring him in anyway. There he is.
Hey.
Sam, finally. It's good to have you back, mate. How are you? You all right?
Oh, I'm absolutely grand, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad, thank you, mate. How are you? Look, I think you've just quickly done this on your mobile phone. Is that right?
Yep, because my mouse and keyboard are not charged, so I can't go on the computer, and my phone is on 9%, so we'll see how we do.
We'll see how this goes. Well, you look great on the new layout. Not so good on the old school layout, but anyway, before we move on, mate, I do, because I'm going to talk about some of the controversial incidents and stuff in a bit. What were your thoughts on yesterday's defeat to Chelsea, please, mate?
I mean, listen.
Well, that didn't last very long then, did it? Sam's cameo as...
that much.
There we go.
Yeah. There we go. Well, it's good to have Sam back, but that's probably the shortest. I'll take you out, Sam, and bring you back in when you can sort your issues.
You know what, though? Sam had more of an impact there than Brozier did all day yesterday. So
What you know what, mate? I feel like Brozier actually played all right yesterday. I feel like it's the best I've seen him play at Burnley. Which probably says more than anything else, if I'm being honest with you. But I actually thought he did all right.
Afterwards, when I was sending you the pictures of us with the players, I saw him on he come out where all the rest of the players did, and the fastest I've seen him move is the way that he moved across that car park to get away.
Yeah, actually, I want to mention that. So you did send us. So what did you do? Did you go and meet the coaches when they dropped all the players off?
So we went. No, it was afterwards. So because it were early kickoff, we got bussed down.
Right, okay. No wonder they're all moody with you.
But no, we got the bus down, and so we went to club shop afterwards to do some Christmas shopping, and then we're walking down Harry Potts Way and saw quite a lot of people on, car park next to cricket field.
Yeah.
Well, Bob Ward cricket field end on Harry Potts Way. Just thought, we'll just go up and see if anyone's there. And Florentino were there, so thought I'll get a selfie with him, and then ended up waiting about an hour just so I could try and meet Parker.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, the best story about yesterday is one that you've not told. Is you saw Zian. This is after the match, by the way. I didn't realise it were after the match. So you've seen Zian Fleming after the match. We've just lost 2-0. Zian's not really got involved as probably as he would have liked. He didn't really get any chance, and obviously he did get that one in the second half, which he brought down brilliantly. But then it didn't really set for him, and he ballooned it over the bar. No criticism of Zian. That's just what happened. I thought he struggled yesterday because of the service more than anything else. But then you actually asked him when you had the picture done with him to do that, and he said, "Nah, mate." So what was his response when you said, "Let's do that"?
He was just like,
did he just say no?
He just shook his head, but in fairness, he still smiled for the picture. So I have a better one though. I asked Barnsley where he wanted his statue, and he was laughing at that. But
that's funny. To be fair, that is funny. But I can't talk about this and not bring in the actual, the money shot that everyone's been waiting for. There it is. There's Andrew when he makes it. It seems like, nah, mate, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So yeah,
you know what though?
It was good to see, mate. You've got some balls because I actually saw Jadon Anthony yesterday at that petrol station in Cliviger, and I'm one of them. And I saw Zian Fleming at the National Football Awards. I'm one of them. I'm like, nah, I'm not speaking to him again. Dead walk up to him. You're like, "Hi, Zian, let's do the celebration together." You're the total opposite of me.
Mate, I'm like, I know I'm 30-year-old, but there's still like a 10-year-old kid inside of me that if I see a Burnley player, I'm like, I need to get a selfie with him. I need to get a picture with him. All right. I don't care. I'll be cracking 60 and one of Burnley players will be walking down the street and I'm still asking for a picture.
Fair enough. You're a better man than me. Anyway, 2 controversial incidents yesterday, and let's talk about them. Obviously, we'll talk about the Chelsea goals in a little bit, but not right now because we are going to bring in. Well, first of all, we're going to bring in Sam, and then secondly, he's back. He's back. Looks like you're on your PC now as well, mate. So hopefully that's.
I've fixed it. It's been fixed.
Happy days, happy days. Anyway, this is not the penalty incident one, so I am talking shit. There we go. Right, a lot's been made of this. Because I do feel like a penalty was given for something either earlier this season or last season. Was it Aston Villa? So Sanchez takes the goal kick. I can't remember who the player is that he passes it to. He takes the goal kick. He doesn't pass it to him. He takes it. And then the player obviously doesn't realise he's taking it and thinks he's giving it him. So he just puts his hand on the ball, gets ready to take the goal kick. And I do feel like it is slightly straw clutching from us, because it's not anything to do with any build-up whatsoever. It's not like we've been unlucky and created a great chance and we've been fouled. It is literally just an idiotic mistake from a defender where he doesn't realise the goalkeeper's took it. However, rules are rules. And again, I have no issue with the referee missing this because you're not going to be looking for something like this at this moment, are you? So I don't have any issue with the referee missing this. But what I do have an issue with is surely this is the exact sort of thing that VAR was brought in for. So I don't know. I'm in two minds about this one, and it's I feel like it's relatively straw clutching. We'll get there in the end. Put my teeth in, but I feel like rules are rules, and it should be a penalty. Sam, seeing as you're here and Kieran's absolutely buzzing to see you back, he's already slagged you off, but we'll ignore that, mate. how are you feeling on this one, mate? Alan Howard says Stonewall Pen. What are your thoughts, mate?
I think from the obviously slightly biased perspective, I think it's a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we're talking clear and obvious and that type of stuff, then the referee misses it. And I think if it's not clear and obvious, I don't think it's clear to say that he's definitely taken the goal kick. Like, I think it is, but I reckon they'll argue something around the ruling, something around the referee has to say that the ball's actually live and in play. It's just one of them where there's just going to be that massive grey area where they just make something up for it not to be. I don't see how it can't be when he's literally made the pass and within 2 seconds has turned around asking for the ball back like the ball's in play. If Sanchez thinks the ball's in play, then in my head, the ball's in play. I don't understand how you can just... I mean, again, maybe this is just me, but surely if you're a professional footballer as well and Robert Sanchez passes you the ball, you can move the ball onto that spot with your feet. You don't have to handball it. You don't have to touch the ball. So in my head, I can't see how it's not given, but again, just with the standard of refereeing and VAR's involvement in the most random situations, you just know that they're going to say there's some reason why it isn't. But I can imagine that if this was in a top 6 game or this was in a higher profile game, you know, Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher are talking about this for 15 minutes. Like, this will just get brushed off like it's nothing.
Yeah, fair enough. A lot of people did want it to be a penalty. But Ashley says, never a pen, guys. Let's not want the game going further away from what everyone wants. However, Alan Howarth says, Stonewall penalty. Then he goes on to say, keeper even acknowledges his mistake in his reaction. And that's the bit that gets... Sanchez believes it is in play, like you said, Sam. He knows he's taken that goal kick. And then obviously the player puts his hand on it because he shit himself when he put his hand on that ball, did Sanchez. He knows it's in play. Where's the other one now? This one from Mark Lancaster. It's a penalty. You can't rewrite the rules. And that's it. While I kind of agree with what Ashley's saying, it would be not the soft, but sort of like the most ridiculous penalty in the world. But the ball's in play. It's handball. And he's handballed it and put it on the spot when the ball's in play in the area. So for me, it's a penalty. But Ashley goes on to say 100% would be fuming and call it bullshit if it's given against us. Shows how shit we were if this was probably our best chance to score. Probably right there with that last bit, man. Lee Greenwood says, Sanchez passed the ball, walked away like it was in play. Yeah, completely agree. And Alan, that's the bit I was saying. It must have been Mings. I think Andrew did confirm that. I can't remember when this was. Mings did the same and it was given as a pen. And that is why I will call it bullshit, Ashley, if it's given against us, because it's clearly happened to Villa and it's given against them. And now it's happened to Chelsea and it wasn't. So what does that say if it happens against us now? I think it goes to say that it's quite obvious what's going on. And if this was the other way around, I don't want to go full tin foil hat and, woe is me and all that sort of thing like I always do with stuff like this. But if that's the other way around, does it get given? Of course it does. It's a penalty to Chelsea. Andrew, your thoughts on that one, please, mate?
Yeah, if it were given, it'd be the softest, most ridiculous penalty that we'll have ever seen. But it's a penalty. The referee has blown his whistle and he's done the thing that, like they always do with the arm where they blow the whistle and they go like that. Sanchez has kicked it. And then, is it Chalobah puts his hand on the ball? That's a penalty. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how soft it is. But the ball's in play. Like, this isn't a way of all the games going the wrong way. Like, the ball's in play. It's always been a handball. Like, in the 90s, that was a handball. It's still a handball now. Like, that's not the game going mad. It's just a handball. And, yeah, all right, fair enough. You can make the argument that the referee didn't see it. But you've got the linesman was on that side of the pitch. You've got the fourth official. And you've got how many cameras around the pitch for VAR? Like,
this is what I mean. Like, I understand the referee missing it, but why isn't VAR stepping in at that point?
That was like that whole thing was brought in for clear and obvious, not for these tight offside calls where they spend 5 minutes looking to disallow a goal. like it's there for something that the referee might have missed, and that is like you guys could have seen it in the Jimmy Mack stand. We saw it in the cricket field ends. Like
I completely missed it.
everyone
I'll be
will
honest with you. I completely missed it until Matt from the Burnley Express tweeted about it, and then I was like, "Oh shit, what's this?" So I did completely miss it. I'll be honest.
But like people will have seen it all over the ground. It's like it's a penalty, and yeah, like I say, it would have been a ridiculous penalty to get. We might not have scored it. Like there is that argument, but it's still a penalty. So you know that. And if it was given round like the other way around, yeah, I'd be absolutely fuming. But I won't be fuming at the referee for giving a handball. I'd be fuming at
Fuming at the
Madrid.
defender. Yeah.
Yeah, the defender has decided to put his hand on the ball. And like Sam said, you're a centre half in the Premier League playing for one of the biggest teams in like Europe. You should be able to stop the ball with your foot anyway, like in that position. So yeah, it's a penalty, and I can't see any argument against it.
I think this is the thing with VAR, though.
Go on, Sam.
Like, I think this is the thing with VAR, though. Like, it causes these conversations. Like, everyone in the chat, and we have all basically said the exact same thing, but every single person will caveat it with the same argument of if this was given to Chelsea, it'd be given. If VAR should interject, why won't they? And then I've obviously caveated it with, if VAR gets involved, they have to get involved for what is seen as clear and obvious. And if that's not seen as clear and obvious, in my opinion, then I just don't know what it's there for. Like, and this is the thing, like, everyone has these different things that they want to bring in when we're talking about refereeing decisions now. That fundamentally is just a goalkeeper has played the ball, a centre-half has put his hand on the ball. Like Andrew says, the ref's already played the whistle and said play on. Sanchez has made that pass. That's happened. Anyone can sit there and argue that it's one of these silly and ridiculous ways to have given a penalty. I completely agree, but they happen. Stupid things happen in football. And like everyone's saying as well about Tyrone Mings, I think it was either the start of this year or the end of last year.
Partly it was the Champions League game last year, so a few people have said in the comments.
Again, where we're having conversations about the standard of refereeing being better in European games and the consistency in European games and them actually sticking to the rules of the game, that was given as a penalty. So, yeah, that just shows again how far we are behind in the standard of refereeing, where something so blatant happened in Europe, they gave a penalty for it. We're sat here in the Premier League. The referee doesn't even see it because he's looking at something else, probably looking for JJ Watt in the stands. He's then sat there. VAR are clearly not looking at it. Even at half time, everybody on the panel was sat there going, you know, they breezed past it like it were nothing. They said, could they have had a penalty for this? Yeah, it could have been, but it'd have been sorted. Anyway, let's talk about the great goal from Pedro Neto. It's like nothing's seen as a big thing unless you're a big six club that makes over £200 million a year. It just doesn't make a difference. And
you know what? I saw a comment on Twitter because somebody put it up. One of the big pages put it up, said, should this have been a penalty? And somebody commented on it, said, lad who's arsed, it's Burnley. And I feel like that is just the general consensus amongst the entire Premier League. That lad who's arsed, it's Burnley.
It doesn't matter if you support. This is the thing for me. Like, you see these decisions get made, and you sit and watch these Super Sunday games, and you sit down to watch them, and you see the standard of refereeing almost seems to jump up. Like, they give yellow cards for cynical fouls. Like, we had one in the first half. I can't remember who it was, where Florentino had nipped the ball back, and he'd just gone to go play the ball, and I think it was Pedro Neto had like pulled him down by his feet, stopping a counter-attack, and didn't give a yellow card. But that happens in the Arsenal game 25 minutes ago, and that's given as a yellow card. It's like they see these big games and they go, oh, well, let's give this and let's give that, and let's be consistent with everything we give. And if we give one to one team, we've got to give it to another. And then we sit down and watch these games where it feels like, to us, it's a lot, but to the rest of the Premier League, it's nothing. We sit down at 12:30 to watch that game. We see that happen, and you don't see it anywhere. No one talks about it. Whereas if that's in that game 25 minutes ago, that's on Instagram, that's on Twitter, that's on everything. Like, oh, did the referee make the right decision?
It's not
So
not even that. I'm like, just to carry it on, like, if that was the other way around and it wasn't given for Chelsea in some universe, because we know it would have been, but if that wasn't given for Chelsea, fucking Maresca would be on Match of the Day straight after it. Like, it'd have been on Sky Sports after it. Like, there'd be outrage. How long was the outrage last year? And don't get me wrong, like, I'm not saying it was the right decision, but how long was the outrage last year for the Tottenham Liverpool when that goal was disallowed? Like, we're hearing about it for months. This will get glossed over. Like, they'll have it on Ref Watch tomorrow. Dermot Gallagher
he'll say 100%. He'll say no.
But you see,
and that'll be it. Like, it will never get mentioned again.
You see these things all the time. It's like something popped up the other day. I genuinely think it was Sky Sports. He said a year ago to the day, Haaland played a through ball to Grealish and he went through on goal and the referee brought it back for a free kick. They brought it up saying a year ago to the day for something that didn't even happen, from a VAR decision that just was absolutely terrible, and a refereeing decision that was terrible. It said a year to the day for a decision like that. There's no way to say that he would have still scored that. Same for the penalty at the weekend. But I just find it so odd that we seem to be having these conversations over and over again, and we never have these conversations in the Championship ever. Whatever the rule is, whatever the decision the referee gives, we can sit and have conversations about having a poor referee. I'd much rather that than when you've got a million cameras, loads and loads of different people's opinions, and saying VAR has been brought into the game to make sure all these correct decisions happen. The only thing that's changed, that's been better with VAR, is offsides. And again, that wasn't when they first brought VAR in. That's now they've brought in semi-automated offsides. That's the only reason why those decisions get made. And if you sit there and you look at some of these decisions, and you even go back to the company season, and you go back to like the Aston Villa game and things like that, this costs teams millions and millions of pounds. But that doesn't matter to them because we don't make them millions and millions of pounds. That's the reason.
Yeah. That wasn't the only controversial incident, though. Before we get... This one for me, right? I've seen a lot of people putting it on social media and things like that, and people arguing, oh, well, the ball wasn't in play. That argument is null and void because when the referee blew the whistle for this, the ball was in play. You can even see, I can't show the footage, again, for obvious reasons, due to copyright issues, but on the video of this that I got the screen grab from, or whoever's got this screen grab from, in fact, I think it's on Match of the Day, to be honest with you, looking at that. But I did see a video of this on Twitter, and the ball was in play. The referee blew the whistle, and you could see the ball go up in the air. So the ball was 100% in play. So I think the argument for this one, that the ball wasn't in play, needs to stop because it was. However, I think I might be on my own with this one because I think a penalty will be harsh. I think this is one of them where you see grappling like this, it's over aggressive. I will be honest with you, and it was constant. Every time we were about to take the corner, this happened to Steve every single time. He was thrown to the floor on one occasion, then the referee had a word, then they tried to do it again, then this one happened, then obviously he blew the whistle and booked him. It's like, well, if you're blowing the whistle and booking him, then it probably should be a penalty. This is where it gets confusing for me for this one, because I feel like if you're going to start giving penalties for stuff like this every single game, even if this one probably was over-aggressive, you're going to be giving a lot of penalties away every single week. You're going to be giving penalties away week in, week out for a lot of issues like this. But he's blown his whistle. So if he's blown his whistle, he obviously thinks it's a foul. If he's booked him, he thinks it's a foul. So then why is it not a penalty? Because the ball's in play. That's where this one gets confusing for me. But go on, Andrew. You tried to jump in then.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was just saying you should be giving penalties for that week in, week out. Then, like, we see this happen all the time. And again, I can't remember who it were, but I think it was Fulham against United. One of their players does this to a United player, and he falls down in the box, and they get penalty for it. So, again, it's the inconsistency of, again, the big six teams, and I'm not getting into another conspiracy thing, but like, the ball was in play. You blow the whistle, like, as the referee, the ball's in play, you blow the whistle, you're stopping the game. There's a reason you're stopping the game. If you're stopping the game because you want to book one of the opposition players, then you've noticed that something's wrong. And if you've noticed that something's wrong, you then give the advantage to the other team. And there, it's a penalty. He's blown the whistle for the foul. It's a foul. It's a penalty.
That's where, look, even though obviously I think me and you disagree on the fact that I don't think we should be giving penalties for stuff like this because we're happening week in, week out. Obviously, you were like, well, we should be. It's quite obvious that the referee thinks that this is a foul because, as Martin says here, that's the point I was making yesterday. He's blown for a foul and issued a yellow for a foul. The ball was in play. So if the referee thinks it's a foul, what should be the outcome? It should be a penalty. That's why it just gets so confusing and ridiculous. And this is where, despite everything what I said about the first incident, where I don't blame the referee, because you're not going to see something like that if you're the ref, really. I can understand what if he's looking a different direction. This one, the referee's got it all wrong. If he's blowing for a foul or blowing to stop the play when the ball is in play and issuing a yellow card, then for me, it should be a penalty.
Yeah. And again, you've got the linesman on that side. If the linesman's the one who's drawn the attention to it, the reason I say that it should be a penalty is because we see it all the time. And like diving, we see it all the time and nothing gets done. If you started booking players properly for diving or sending them off for diving, then it'd stop. And this, like, that sort of thing should stop. But if you're going to stop the play to give a yellow card, you have to give a penalty. And I'm with you. Like, I do think it would have been soft. It would have been ridiculous. But again, it's one of them where the game's going too far the other way, where they're letting things like this go. And it's just like, this is for me, the rules that should change rather than the little things that they are doing.
Yeah. Shout out to Lee, who's just sent me a video of the incident, which I would have been able to show because there's no copyright on that one. But he's only just sent it me, and I don't have time to quickly edit it and shove it in. But again, it's quite obvious. Like he's all over him. And Lee, if I'm happy with that video, by the way, mate. But there's a lot of FNL, so I might not have been. I've had to beat believe a lot of that out. But yeah, I think Lee, it were you that sent me that great footage of Tuna's goal against Leeds, weren't it? So more of them if you get them, please, mate, and I'll bring them into the shows. Sam, your thoughts on that penalty incident, please, mate?
I mean, again, it's just one of those where I just think there's too much of a grey area again. Like, I agree with everything that you've said fully. Like, I fully back it. Like, the ball's in play, he's doing it, but then again, there's the argument for it happened once before, didn't it? And the ref stopped play.
Yeah,
to tell
literally
him,
seconds before.
Then the ball got crossed in. Now, to the referee, could he have been, as the ball, because he didn't blow after the ball had already landed in the 18-yard box. He blew just as the ball was played, right? So, again, is he blowing the whistle to say, I've asked you to stop, you're not stopped, so I'm now going to blow the whistle. You just happen to have kicked the ball. I'm going to book you, because we see it all the time, don't we, where these little tussles happen, two players get a yellow card and then they take the corner.
Yeah.
Like, my thing with that is there's too much of a grey area there for what that is then, clearly, because the argument from Andrew, and I agree with it, is the ball's in play, because it is. He blows the whistle. We've played the ball. It goes back to exactly the same, not the exact same type of situation, slightly different, but do you remember when we played Leeds back in like the Cornet season, and Ben Mee went up to challenge for the ball, and we ended up scoring, but the ref had blown the whistle, therefore making that play null and void?
Yes, I do remember that.
Is that not the same thing? He's played the ball, he's blown the whistle, and then he's booked him for faffing about again. But again, for me, I am on Andrew's side, where if the ball's in play at that point, then where do you say that's not a penalty? Because I thought at the start of the season they were clamping down on hands on players. And in the first two games, again, it seems like it happens every season. They tell us these new rules. For 2 weeks, it's great. You see it happening all the time. and then all of a sudden the rules just start to slowly fade away, like they forget what the rule is, or it's happened in a game and it's caused controversy, so they start to strip back on it again. For me, you can't shove another player off of the pitch to stop them being in the box for a header. And if the ball's in play, then it's a penalty. But I'm just wondering if the referee blown the whistle to say this play is now null and void, even though the ball's in the air travelling into the box. I'm going to book you because I've told you to stop doing this. But like I say, it's just that grey area again where it's just we have no idea. There's no consistency with ruling whatsoever.
But that grey area again, that can be cleared up by you watch the referee, and when he's blowing the whistle for him to take the corner, he puts his arm up, doesn't he? And he goes like that, like to say, "Come on, I'm ready for you." So I'd need to see it back on that to see if he actually does that or not. But like, it's quite easy to like get rid of this grey area but they're not going to, because they just back the mates, don't they? Referees, like, they're all just there to back the mates. So
yeah. MJ Hilser 88 says they're bringing these rules and just look at the amount of time we are having to talk about. They just keep things consistent. Why didn't VAR give it? Says Dom again. I feel like Sam's spot on with the grey area thing. I just feel like you're adding another layer of debate if you bring in VAR to this. They'll just have a different opinion on it. Brian says he booked him, then he did it again straight after the ball was played. He did it 3 times. He did it originally. The referee just said, "Well, what are you doing?" Then he did it again and he booked him, and then he did it again and the referee did nothing. It's just ridiculous. Sean Rubinio says the ball was on the spot and about to be crossed. The referee booked the Chelsea player for a foul in the box. In my book, that is now a penalty. We'll have to move on because there are some other things that I want to talk about. The defending for the first goal, like this was harsh at the time. I feel like Burnley were the better side for the first half without, as we've already discussed at the start of the show, creating too much because they got into good positions and flooded the lines. But this is where I start getting a little bit. We were so good defensively last season. I know, again, you're going to compare apples with oranges if you start comparing the defence in the Championship to the defence in the Premier League. But it looked like we would be able to translate our style from the Championship into the Premier League because of how good we were defensively. We look like we'd potentially be able to be pragmatic and things like that. But this is Chelsea's first goal. So look at this. This is where the cross is being made. Look at Neto. Neto is the one drifting in all the way at the edge of the 18-yard box, just inside the 18-yard box, past the D. That's where Neto is there at that point, right? And obviously he goes on to score the goal. Look where he is when he scores it. So he's drifted in. Just bring that one up. He's drifted in there, right? The defender closest to him is Hartman. And the defender who's currently being passed by another player just inside the 18-yard box is Florentino. Hartman, there is a little bit of a look over his shoulder before the ball is played or just after the ball is played. So he does become aware of the player on the back post as Hartman. However, I feel because Florentino loses his man, Hartman then ends up, because Hartman's, if you look at the 3 players here, you can clearly see Steve with a 5 on his back, right? And if you look further ahead, you can see the fact that Hartman is now the closest in the middle of the box to the penalty spot, apart from the number 6, because he's now been pulled closer to the player that Florentino, I think it was, that loses. So it just all becomes a bit of a mess. Even though Hartman should be focusing on Neto on the back post, I think, Andrew, I can see you in the little mini screen at the bottom. You look absolutely hilarious. I wish I could bring you in there and show everybody. You look like a grandma trying to read like a small print in a newspaper. But it's just bad defending all around. So Neto's there. Alan says there Hartman should have stayed with his man. And I get that. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. And I don't disagree with you, Alan. But I can see why Hartman has been sucked in because Florentino loses his man. So then if you look at the Florentino's position there and the man that Hartman's looking at, he's going to see that. He's thinking, well, Florentino's not looking at his man. I need to now cover Florentino. And then while he's trying to cover Florentino, Neto runs it at the back post and scores a simple header. Like I said, that's where he is when he scores the goal. It's just too easy. It's just too easy. And that's where we've been poor this season. Sam, I'll come to you first on this one. Your thoughts on that goal, please, mate.
I don't think it's Hartman's, brightest hour defensively. But I do think it's a great ball in. It's put into the exact area where either player can affect it. And it's split all three players. It's gone just over Florentino's head, just in between Hartman and Steve. It is a good ball into the box. Like there is an element of there's a quality to that goal rather than us being poor defensively. There's an element to both. I do think Hartman has drifted inside to cover for Florentino losing his man.
Yeah.
But again, for Neto to get from where he was into that area and still finish it with a good header, there is an element of it's a good goal, and it's a poor goal defensively because we normally eat things up like crosses going into the box and things like that. But I just think Hartman's not really necessarily done much wrong, because even where he is there, he's still slap bang in between both attackers. Yeah. So it's not like he's a million miles out of position. It's not like he's watched Neto ghost around the back and Neto's had a free header. Like, he is in there. It's tightly compact. It's a good header and a good ball into the box. I think Florentino losing his man there is not good, I have to admit. And I'm a big advocate for Florentino. I think he's a brilliant player, but I think he's just been caught on his heels a little bit.
Caught ball watching.
Yeah, and but then there is that overarching thing for me of like that type of thing was just coming for us in that game. Like, because of how much we were on the front foot, because of how little we were affecting the game, you give a good side even half a chance and they'll score. Put a ball like that into the box and they're never going to miss. So, rather than putting emphasis on, and this is going to sound like a bit of a bottomless answer, but rather than putting emphasis on an individual player, I just think we were that rubbish going forward and trying to score a goal that we were inevitably going to concede a goal in that game. And the fact that it's come from a good ball into the box and a good header, fair play. I'd much rather that than, a scrappy penalty at end of game like against Liverpool. Like that was just a good goal. So,
yeah. Fair enough. Alan Howard says Hartman should have stayed with his man. Cornwall Claret says no one marking Neto. He was a danger man, so he should give him more attention to stop him. I believe Greenwood says Hartman switches to the immediate danger, which that's fair enough. I'm leaning more towards sort of like what Sam and Lee are saying. Dominic says I can't blame Hartman there. I blame Florentino more as he tracked his man. Hartman would have had Neto. Again, that's my thought process with that. Again, similar to Sam, and Hartman did get a bit of stick last week from a few other channels and a few people on Twitter. Whereas I was I remember speaking to Glenn Little about him, saying I can't believe people are criticising him, and Glenn with the same thing, saying, well, that's absolutely insane. He's been superb for us, and he still is the first name on the team sheet for me. But in that particular moment there, he does lose his man too easily. And I think if you're going to have to blame an individual, I think Florentino is more to blame. But it's a catalogue of sort of like small issues, and like Sam said, a great cross and a great finish. But Andrew, your thoughts on that one, please, mate?
Yeah, I don't think really I've got much to add to that. Like Sam said, for me, it's just a quality ball in, and like that's the quality that Chelsea have. That we're gonna at some point in the game concede a goal like that, and I think Hartman could have done better tracking his man. Florentino could have done better tracking his man, because then Hartman's having to almost cover two. But yeah, for me, it's just a good goal from Chelsea, and unfortunately, I can't slag anyone off for it.
Let's get to the second goal then. This is just sort of like where it is when it's finished. Don't really have too much to say about this one, other than Tuanzebe probably could have been a little bit stronger. I can't remember who it is who puts the ball in.
That is an understatement.
Yeah, well, that's the main concern for me. I feel like Steve was spun quite easily in the build-up to the corner for the first goal, and Tuanzebe for this one should have been stronger. Both centre-backs had moments where they probably weren't great, but I also feel like both centre-backs played okay, especially Steve. I've seen a lot of people criticising Steve on Twitter, which I find a bit bizarre. I thought he played relatively well. There was a moment, like I said, in the build-up to the first goal where they got the corner where I think it was Delap spun him, and again, forgive me for not knowing the lad's name, but whoever put the ball in here to Nzebe should have been a bit stronger towards it. But Sam, you said there, understatement. What were your thoughts on it then, mate? You obviously seen that you're quite opinionated on Nzebe's effort here.
Oh, mate, that was rubbish. That was absolutely rubbish. Mark Gee gets the ball and Nzebe is fully squared him up. As a defender, he's in the best possible position to deal with that. And with one touch, he's ended up on the back of him.
Yeah.
That is absolutely some of the worst defending I've ever seen. And I genuinely think Nzebe has slotted into the team really well. I think he's been a good partner for Steve, and I think they've been a decent partnership at centre-half. But that was absolutely terrible. I don't know how. I mean, if you had a freeze frame from before, Mark Gee.
I'm just grabbing one now. You mean the bit where he picks up the ball?
He's literally, he stands him up, stood in front of him. I don't know how with one touch he's ended up in that position. Like, look where he is from Mark Gee's cross. Like,
so that's where he is when he picks the ball up.
But then even after that, when they're in the box, like once he takes the touch past him, he's in the box squared up, staring at him. And with one touch, he's spun and ended up on his back. I said it to my dad as we were watching the game. I was like, what has just happened? That is such a routine defensive thing to do. Is just don't let him cut inside. Don't let him beat you on the outside. You stood square on, so whichever way he goes, just follow him. It's one touch. And then go back to the other freeze frame and look where he ends. Look, there. It's one touch from being squared up. Now he's on the side of him. Then go to the next freeze frame. How's he there? How is he there? It doesn't make sense. I just don't get it. Oh, God. But honestly, it just added to at the end of a game, big clubs can do this against teams like us that are scrapping relegation. They have the ability to make 4 passes, get up the other end of the pitch and tap it in to seal a result. That's what it felt like. It didn't feel like it was going to affect the way we were playing in the game. I think at that point, we just kind of started to get a little bit more of a foothold in the game. But that's just one of those things that I feel like every time we've played Chelsea in the Premier League or every time we play an Arsenal in the Premier League and you get to, you're 1-0 in the 85th minute and that just somehow happens. It's when we commit bodies forward and good teams have the ability to do that and turn defence into attack in 3 or 4 passes. But I just think that is such bad defending from Nzebe. I don't understand how you can be stood in front of him, then to the side of him, and then by the time the ball's in the box, you're literally on the floor behind him. I just don't get it. But then, like I say, it wasn't necessarily a nail in the coffin because I just couldn't see us doing anything anyway.
I agree. The notorious BJB says Lorenz should have taken one for the team on the halfway line. Alan Howard says, but again, where is Hartman? It came down our left. Alan Lanker says, listen, just watch Esteve on corners for or against. He's too flat-footed and static. I like Steve, but he's being found out. Lee Greenwood said, Steve has had a couple of poor performances, but I don't think he was bad yesterday. Still City's second highest goal scorer, though. I did see that when I opened your message, by the way, because that was the last message you sent me. Alan Howard says, it has bits of the sun run to it. I think you're exaggerating slightly there, mate. Scott Armstrong says, no idea how VR didn't get involved with the handball. Which handball is that, mate? I must have missed that one. No other Chelsea player in the frame, says Lee. Sean Robinho says, you could never imagine a Dice Burnley conceding goals like that. That's one of the things we seem to be is soft. We are too passive going forward, at times weak defensively. You look at the aggression me and Tarkowski had. Sorry, Esteve and Nzebe could learn from that. That second goal was pathetic. Andrew, unfortunately, we are running out of time, so I'm not going to come to you and your thoughts on that game. But my suspicion would be you'd say, well, there's not too much I can add to that, to be honest.
No, I've got just one thing. If you
Come on,
go
very
back to
quickly.
that, very quickly, you go back to that first screenshot, and there's one Chelsea player in that screenshot, and I think there's
Not that one. That's
no,
the wrong one. That one?
no, the very first one where it had 88 in the corner.
It's still
That
not on
one,
its
yeah.
second one.
You've got Gay is the only Chelsea player there, and then you've got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Burnley players, 6 Burnley players, including Dubravka. Then when you look at when they put the ball in the back of the net, 2 of their players have
We'll get
managed to
there.
get in the box as well as Gay, and we've got no extra players there. Like, this is the same issue I've got with the other ones. They should be busting a gut to get back. I know it's the 88th minute, but they should be busting a gut to get back. And
Yeah.
Chuan Zebi's there basically trying to get Gay's shorts off him. Dubravka's been naive, being pulled across. Like, we all knew that as soon as Gay got there, he was going to pull the ball back across. Everyone knew that.
Yeah.
And Dubravka's been naive, coming onto his near post to try and stop that. Like, for me, it was just a shambles of a goal.
Yeah. That's fair enough. As Scott Armstrong says, I want to hear Andrew's opinion. So there you go. I did give Andrew this. The only reason why I didn't want to let Andrew speak is because I know, and both Andrew and Sam can talk for England, to be fair, which is why we love them, which is why we get them on the podcast. But there is one thing I want to talk about, and that is Jadon Anthony. Because I feel like that's the main thing that people are getting annoyed about now. It's the form of my petrol station friend, Jadon Anthony, because I saw him at the petrol station in Clifford yesterday, but I didn't have the balls to say anything to him. It's just been poor recently, and I like Jadon, right? I do. I feel like he had a great start to the season, and I felt like he had enough credit in the bank for a few poor performances. But it's been a little bit more than a few poor performances now. There was a couple of times, like I said yesterday, where he got himself into good positions and he chose the wrong option. He either cut inside and his shot was blocked, or he dallied, took too long, and the defenders came in. So I think the general consensus now among everybody, not if you agree, Andrew and Sam, is that it's time for him to be dropped. Yeah, but Sam's nodding very slowly, very sort of like evil genius-like, whereas Andrew is nodding as well. So I feel like the general consensus is that Jadon needs to be dropped. But what my question is now, because I do feel like every Burnley fan thinks a lot of us like Jadon, but maybe it's time for him to have a rest for his benefit and the team's. Not just like, oh, you shit, get out, don't ever play for us again. But have a rest, come back and try and hit that pre-season form, maybe around Christmas if you can, lad. But who were we bringing in for him? Because I was actually putting in the WhatsApp group yesterday, and I'm going to sound like I'm talking bollocks here because I didn't actually press send. And then when I came back to it afterwards, after Lyle Foster had brought on in the left position, I was saying in the Turfcast group, am I crazy in thinking maybe it's time we put Lyle Foster on the left-hand side?
Yeah,
because a lot of people will probably say they want Hannibal there, which I like Hannibal, and he brings a lot of energy. Maybe it's time to try Hannibal on the other side and change the wingers completely. I'm not sure. But the way I look at it is, a lot of our chances seem to be falling to the wingers, especially Jadon yesterday. Again, they didn't turn into clear-cut chances, but he got himself into good positions. Tuna with the same on the right-hand side, so maybe try Hannibal there as well, like I said. But Anthony had them 2 chances. If any of them chances, if Lyle Foster is on the left-hand side, he can then drift inside and sort of like play the fluid sort of like left-hand side forward position where he comes inside and doubles up as a second striker with Zian. Zian's obviously dropping deep, and therefore that space ahead of him will be available. So then Lyle can come in, play on the left-hand side, come in and expose that space that Zian's doing. Because Zian's very good at holding the ball up, and it brings the wingers, or should I say wide forwards, into play. So I feel like having Foster on the left or the right will benefit us, because we will have somebody who can finish their tee, who is better at finishing their tee than Jadon Anthony. Andrew, you're shaking your head. Do you disagree?
We tried Foster on the left last year, and he was shy.
That's in the Championship.
No.
There's more space in the Premier League.
We're expecting him to do it in the Premier League.
There's more space in the Premier League. I will caveat that with that.
Yeah, but he's just no. For me, we have to drop Anthony. Like, he has to be dropped. There's no argument against that. As much as I love him, and as much as I know that it's not going to change because Parker loves him, he does need to be dropped. But Foster on the wing's not the answer for me. The answer, like I think I put it in the group after the West Ham game. You bring Hannibal in, but we stop playing with these wide forwards and have Hannibal and Tuna almost playing with like 2 10s behind
Yeah.
whoever we have up front, if it's Fleming or whatever. So we keep that midfield three of Les, Florentino, and Cullen because we can't change that because that is the best midfield
I agree.
we've had in the Premier League. We have Walker and Hartman as like attacking fullbacks, and then you've got Hannibal and whoever else. For me, it'd be Tuna sat behind the striker, and we go more narrow rather than this. Because when we get the ball out wide, with no one in the box, so there's no point putting players on the wing if there's no one in the box to cross it into. So for me, you put Hannibal in there and shift the formation up a little bit. But yeah, I know people are going to say Trezor. Trezor's not the answer. People are going to say Marcus Edwards, 2 goals and 1 assist. He's not the answer. Like, we know.
The answer is Lyle Foster. Is that what you're saying?
The answer is not Lyle Foster. Lyle Foster isn't good enough for the Premier League. Up front, never mind on the wing. So, yeah, for me, that's what I'd do.
Sam, your thoughts? Just a caveat before we start. I need to start work at 19:45. But what would you do? Sam might even not drop Jadon Anthony because he did an evil genius nod. So what are your thoughts, Sam?
I mean, there is another option that we haven't explored, is that we don't have a player to replace him. Like, because do we? Like, the argument could be, I mean, like, I fully agree with Andrew, but then there is also a part of me that I understand where Joe's coming from, because who else can go on that left-hand side? My argument for Foster is he couldn't do it in the Championship against Oxford United, Sheffield Wednesday. How's he going to do it against fullbacks who are on 120 grand a week, playing international football? That's just my thing on it. I think Marcus Edwards is one who needs to be given an opportunity. I do agree with what people have said about Marcus Edwards. I do. The 2 goals and 1 assist, I fully agree. The softness that we saw from him last year when he came in. But my thing with Jadon Anthony is, for the first few weeks he was a handful, even if he wasn't affecting the game from a stats perspective. Now I don't see that same handful. I see someone who backs out of tackles. I see somebody who's not willing to take his man on. I see somebody who did, for one of the chances where he was in the box and he could have just hit it first time or took 1 touch and had a shot. He did his best Robbie Brady impression, which was to do that weird flicky thing before and then try and take a shot. And by that point, the defender's in the way and he's had his shot blocked.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the only player who currently can just go in and slot on that role is Hannibal. And I do think it was a bit odd that we didn't see him, especially after his international break, especially for what he's done on the last 2 international breaks with Tunisia, the form that he seems to be in when he's going away. The game that he played against Brazil, he was very, very good. I genuinely don't see why that's not more of a possibility. I think what Hannibal gives you is, and I do agree with Andrew to a degree, of this idea of 2 10s. I don't think 2 10s is the thing that we should do, because I think if we go too narrow, we shoehorn ourselves into playing a certain style of football that we might not have the players to play. I do think that if we have the width, it still always adds an element of the ball can go into the box and you've got that ricochet ability. You've got the ball to drop in awkward positions. So I still think the wingers are the way forward. But what Hannibal gives you is that technical footballer. Yeah. Somebody who can play in those pockets, somebody who can play in and around the box. And I think that's our issue at the moment. If the ball goes into the box, it sometimes is to nobody. If the ball gets played through the middle, we don't have the players that can play that kind of neat, intricate passing. And I do think Hannibal has that. But then again, my argument for Anthony is he's not going and taking his man on the wing. Is Hannibal going to do that? it's another. So again, I think my answer is probably we maybe don't have the personnel to do it.
No, I love Hannibal, but I don't think he's a wide forward at all, or a left winger, whatever you want to call the version that we have of that. I feel like Hannibal should probably be playing in more of a central role, but again, we don't really have that central role. We don't really have the central role that would suit Hannibal in the current system. So maybe again, going back to what you were saying, Andrew, about potentially changing the formation up a little bit to try and play two strikers, maybe have Fleming and Foster up there, despite the reaction that I got from Alan by suggesting Foster, but also maybe trying to get somebody like Hannibal in there as well. But then you're going to lose potentially the width, like Andrew said, like Sam said, sorry, and you kind of shoehorn yourself into being too narrow. So it's difficult with this situation, but I feel like a solution needs to be found. 100%, a solution needs to be found. But we'll wrap it up there, lads, because I do start work in a couple of minutes. And it's good that we came to a natural end there, because I was starting to panic a little bit, I'm not going to lie. But if you have just joined, when Sam starts talking, like, I could be here until Monday. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. It is, which is why you're good on stuff like this, mate. But when I need to wrap it up, it's not the best feeling in the world. But if you have joined the stream late, there's been no one in the comments. Oh, very quickly, man of the match. Steve, completely agree. Alan, done it again. Andrew, you're man of the match, please.
Steve.
Yep, Steve.
Steve.
There we go. That's as good as you're going to get from us all today. Apologies, we had to very quickly wrap it up. But yeah, if you did join the stream late and you want to watch it back in full, as soon as I press end stream, it does stay on YouTube in both vertical format and landscape format. And in fact, it probably doesn't stay on Instagram, to be fair, but it definitely does stay on Facebook. And I will be wrapping up sorry, not wrapping up. I will be, as soon as I've wrapped up, I will be creating the podcast for it to be all the usual podcast platforms. But thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. We will see you next time.